same thing. It will brief that BS 122 with some suggestions, suggestive topics. Whenever we are talking about the examination, whatever be the examination questions are, we are not aware about those questions, but likely questions, likely topics which are important. Let us discuss or mention all those things. Keep your paper and pen ready and get all those points noted down so that materials are there in the net so you can study it. And if you have got any doubt, you can ask me for clarification, further clarification. So straight away I'm coming to BES 122, that is Contemporary India and Education. Now whenever we are using the term contemporary, it differs from the ancestral part, that is the British India. So colonial education, so we are not talking about that. So whenever, if any such question comes at all, that how this contemporary Indian context of education differs from the colonial education, what will you say? If anyone can unmute and tell me about one or two points. How does this contemporary Indian education system differs from the colonial education? What will be your answer?
Sir, hello.
Yes?
So in colonial times, education was mainly aimed for getting jobs in uh, in government, in English government. We had, and
Right.
now it is getting in broader perspective. Education has some broader perspective. Education is for various aspects. We are exploring into various subjects. Our educational system has explored.
Okay, theoretically it's all right, but can you specify with some examples? During colonial rule, it was clerk making policy, all right. British rulers, they wanted to make one specific community of English knowing people in our country so that they can rule us better. That was one of the reasons, all right. But from educational design itself, can you suggest with some example that how it differs in their approach?
In that time, most mainly the upper class people got the chance of being educated. But now, all the sections of the society, for everybody, we have the equal opportunity. That is one of the
Okay.
points.
Thank you very much. Jyotirmoy, thank you very much. Yes. So that means in our terms, you should be using the term, technical term, this is called expansion of elementary education. That was not there. At that time, that was not there. The education system was designed in such a manner it was more elitist. So, but now it is for universal people. So, universalization or equality in education or expansion of elementary education. So, write down these things. More or less, you will have to write on the same issue. Similar types of points will come. More or less, similar types of points will come. So, basic thing, this is one of the core area of 122. Now, whenever we are talking about the contemporary Indian education system, more emphasis is given on expansion of elementary education, universal approach. And all of you are aware that in our constitutional pledge in 1950, it was recorded in the document constitution that all the children below 15 years of age must get elementary education within 15 years. That means within 1965, it was expected that all the children of independent India of below 15 years of age will be getting the opportunity of getting the elementary education free of cost. But it was never achieved. Why? Because of some implementation problem. Philosophically, the ideal was good, but it was never achieved. And that was the reason why nowadays a lot of sub-clause and sub-laws are coming up, banning child, stopping early marriage. So many issues are coming up. So it was a package of program nowadays we are thinking about. That on one side we are stopping child labor, on another side we are deferring the age of girls' marriage. On another side we are giving more and more opportunities to expand this elementary education in the form of Rashtriya Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan or Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, etc. And another concept came up other than literacy is functional literacy. Now, do you have any idea about functional literacy? What is functional literacy? Earlier days, literacy used to be 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. It was only up to that. But nowadays, it is believed that functional literacy is more important. What is functional literacy? How does it differ from literacy? Any idea? So these are the issues which is coming under Unit 15 of curricular issues and quality concerns. Functional literacy doesn't mean that in earlier days, whenever we are talking about literacy, people somehow they learned to write their name. Actually, that was not even writing. That was actually drawing their names. They used to draw, somehow scribble and draw their name, and that was his or her own signature. And it was believed that these people are literate. So that literacy is no longer now is valid because they cannot read, they cannot write, they cannot calculate. So now all these basic concepts and basic elementary calculation, they should be able to do. They should be able to read basic thing in their own vernacular. They should be able to write something in their own mother tongue. So these are the issues coming under this quality concerns and called functional literacy. And whenever all these came, this is one of the concepts which is actually absolutely a drastic change from the colonial system of education and the modern system of education right now, whatever is your paper name. That in this way it is addressed that majority of the people, especially the young, they will be getting opportunity to come to school. Infrastructure is developed for that, a lot of fund is allowed, and they will be able to learn the basic fundamental functional literacy as far as elementary education is concerned. So these are all coming under Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, SSA. And once the elementary education is achieved, then the target was to some extent enhanced in the name of RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. So once they are literate, they will be elevated up to the level of at least Madhyamik, at least class 10. Now, if you are aware about the new education policy, there is no such class 10 exam anymore. The new education policy tells us about class 12. So end exam will be in class 12. So this is one of the concepts with which we are starting today's class, that is the issues and concerns in secondary education. So this is one. Now, under this 121, under 4 different blocks, the block 1 starts with the nature of Indian society and their aspiration. Now, at least in our state, we have already experienced one thing. All of you are aware that in government and government-aided institutions, English as second language was not there. There was a decision taken by the government of that period that they have abolished English as second language, and that was not there as far as one full generation is concerned. So actually what happened after that? Those who were students of this government school and government aided schools, they couldn't get English as one of their subject, second language subject. So as a result, we have seen from our experience that even students coming from very low or low middle class background, socio-economically, they started joining all local, very low standard local English medium schools. We have seen such boards coming up in our city where the name of the school is very written in a very small script, but boldly on the signboard, English medium, these two words are written. Why? Because they could see the aspiration. This is a very important term as far as our Indian society is concerned. That aspiration of Indian society, what they want, even illiterate parents, they wanted their children to get good education. And somehow they thought that good education will be provided only in English medium schools. So I'm not talking about some elite English medium schools, but there are a lot of very low standard, ordinary English medium school coming up in our community in very large number. And none of those schools were going without any student because aspiration of Indian society was to put their child, boy or girl, to these English medium schools, considering that these schools will be definitely catering better education to them comparing to government and government aided schools. And all of you knew that at that time, during that period, government schools were running short of children, students. That reflected our aspiration of Indian society, which couldn't be read properly at that time during that period of the West Bengal government. So this is one of the concept which is present in your unit 2, that is the aspiration. And once you can't see the aspiration properly, and we were very young at that time, just entering into our profession, and we thought, it was our opinion, but we were very young, nobody listened to us. We thought that this solution could be done in some other way. Why English was abolished? Because it was believed that at that time there was a policy of keeping the students in the same class when they fail in two subjects. There was a norm at that time. Now there is no such policy, but at that time there was a system where students were not allowed to be promoted to higher class if they fail or fail to get pass mark in two subjects. And in majority of the cases, it was observed in our, at least in our state, that majority of the students, they are failing in English and mathematics. Now, they couldn't abolish mathematics because it was a basic need. But they could abolish the foreign language. And the logic was given that this is a foreign language, it is not required for our students of our state. Let them learn their mother tongue and let them learn the subjects through their mother tongue. And so let the English subject as a subject be abolished. So this was the reason why this decision was taken, and it became boomerang, and we observed that Bengali medium schools started becoming absolutely empty, and all the students, they started joining English medium schools, and majority of newly formed English medium schools, they started a good business. So that was the background of Indian society. So whenever we are talking about Indian societal context and the educational framework, this was one of the things. Another very important thing which differs our present day system with the colonial system is development of some technical education, vocational and technical education. So a lot of people, they are going to join these industrial training institutes and the ITIs to get some vocational training. More and more engineering colleges and technical colleges where they can learn something to cater the need of industries. So in that way, some of the government policies started coming, and the pattern of Indian education system started change, because it was no longer a clerk making policy, and it was based on all these necessity of Indians community. And then Unit 4 deals with Indian society and education. What is the needs? What is the need of education? What sort of education should be given to this young generation to come? So more and more young generation students, whatever be their socio-economic background, they are more willing to join technical education, engineering education. So more polytechnics, more ITIs, etc., along with more engineering colleges, opportunities started to grow. Even in medical education, even in pharmacy, law, so all these vocational courses, professional courses, they started coming up. Teacher education institutions also started becoming more and more. So the Indian society were facing a challenge of new generation professionals, and the education system started changing. Then under Block 2, policy framework for education in India. Some specific policies are taken care of in three different phases. One, Unit 5, 6, 7, 8, these 4 chapters are there under Block 2, which deals with policy frameworks for education in India. So starting with the first one, development of education in India before independence. So when this freedom fighting and all these revolutionary works were going on, gradually the Indian education system started to change. A lot of eminent people, they came to develop more technical education. Many of you must be knowing, because this name you please write down, because once you are writing this answer, you will mention this. NCE of Bengal, I don't know how many of you know. NCE means National Council of Education. And it was actually founded by a lot of revolutionaries, lot of freedom fighters like Satish Chandra Chaudhary, etc. Acharya Prafullo Chandra Roy was also associated, because these people, they thought or they believed that there is a necessity of technical education. Later on, the engineering institutions under Jadavpur University came up, and probably many of you must be knowing that actually National Council of Education was the predecessor of Jadavpur University, and it is still there. National Council of Education as the parent body of Jadavpur University, especially the engineering institutions under Jadavpur University. And that National Council of Education was headed by Satish Chandra Chaudhary and many other revolutionaries of that time, who for the first time thought that Indian system of technical education must be given to the new generation. So that is the time when India was becoming independent. All the final stages of freedom fighting and revolutionary works were going on. So that was Unit 5. So that was the background. Then what they have done, they have divided the entire period of Indian education school system into 3 units. Unit 6 deals with development of school education 1947 to 1964. That was the time when the constitution was made. Constitutional pledges were done, but unfortunately all the pledges were not fulfilled. But the attempt was done. Implementation problem was there, couldn't properly implemented. And then the next Unit 7 came with development of school education, 1964 to 1985. That was actually the period of time during 1964 to 1985. A lot of changes took place in the field of school education in terms of expansion, in terms of quality, a major shift, major changes were observed, especially all these policies came up. Now the final Unit 8 discusses with development of school education in India in 1986 and after 1986. Now in this group, those who are attending this class, can anyone tell me what is the significance of 1986? Why they have prepared it like this? Initially, after 1964, then 64 to 85, I told. Then what was the significance of 1986? And after, they have designed it like this. What is 1986? Why that this year is so special in Indian education? Can anyone tell me? Any idea? No idea.
So, hello?
Bolu? Yes,
So
yes.
it is I think about the government was trying to give facial representation for women, civil caste, civil tribes.
No,
I guess so. I don't know
no.
actually.
There was a special event occurred on 1986. What was that?
No, sir, I don't know.
Who was the Prime Minister at that time? 1986. Who was?
Indira Gandhi. No, Rajiv Gandhi.
No, not Indira Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister. And Rajiv Gandhi took an initiative, and that was for the first time national policy of education in independent India was framed. It was a detailed policy of national policy on education, and it is named as 1986 National Policy of Education. It was framed under the initiative of Rajiv Gandhi and definitely by many educationists from that time. So what was the special emphasis given in 1986? The special emphasis was given on computer education, on few terms were there, very commonly hard terms. Navodaya Vidyalaya, some model schools, Operation Blackboard for expansion of elementary education. So all these things were incorporated in 1986 National Education Policy. So that was the time when serious thought started in 1975. Draft policy was prepared in 1979 on various issues related to Indian education, but final Indian policy was made in 1986. Now, can anyone tell me when the next national policy was framed after 1986? 1986 was the first national policy of education. What was the second national policy of education prepared? After how many years? Any idea? In this group, only Jyotirmoy, he speaks. What about others? Are you there? What about other participants? After 1986, what happened? What about the next national curriculum or the national education policy? Almost after, say, 14 years that side and almost 21 years this side. That means almost after 34, 35 years. New education policy came up only in 2021, very recently, and under the initiative of the present Prime Minister. A total shift in national policy of education. So now this is another change in national policy. So whenever we are discussing about the Indian education system, you must know that there are certain phases of development of Indian education system. So in this way, it was developed. Now the next one is block 3, which discusses with philosophical perspective of education. Now what is philosophical perspective? What do you understand by this? Let me summarize and then I will go into detailed discussion. Some topics for your suggestions. What is philosophical basis? Then comes democratic principles. Then comes agencies of education. So whenever we are talking about the concept and the nature of education, what is the philosophy of education? Whatever system you are going to develop, you must have some vision. What is that? They wanted our country to make independent as far as our technical, vocational resources are concerned. So our country will be equipped with all these educational institutions. Still medical institution is lagging behind. Medical institution, pharmaceuticals, along with engineering and technical and vocational. So that in future, a lot of resources will be developed within our country, and we won't have to look for other countries for this type of resources. And what do you mean by democratic principles of education? What is that? What is
Sir,
it? Yes,
democracy essentially means participation of all spheres.
that means
So,
the
mean,
feedback will be taken from all the stakeholders.
right, right.
So whatever policy decision you are taking at the top, you must be taking opinions from all the stakeholders throughout the country, and everyone should participate as far as their opinion is concerned. Then you can finalize your own policy. So in that way, the democratic approach was done. It was publicly announced in one of the newspapers or the media, print and electronic, and then a lot of feedbacks were taken from a lot of people from the country. Then based on the feedback, they started designing the national policy, the new national policy. So this is the democratic approach. The opposite of democratic approach is autocratic. Autocratic means what? You take a decision on the top and ask everyone to follow. But in democratic approach, you take the feedback from the stakeholders and then you go for your planning and design and decision making. So that is the democratic aspect. And what do you understand by agencies of education? Unit 12. This is very important. What do you understand by agencies of education? How many agencies are there?
Agencies are schools, one of the agency.
But whenever you are classifying, how will you classify it? Formal,
Schools, formal and
non-formal,
non-formal,
informal.
informal.
Three categories are there. Now, formal means school, tutorial, institutes, coaching
Libraries.
classes. These are all formal, structured agencies. Informal means family, etc., whatever they are doing. Now, this is one part. Media, family, advertisement, these are all informal agencies of education. But what is non-formal? A lot of NGOs are there, non-government organizations. A lot of community people are there. Those who are organizing and designing various design aspect, educational design aspect, as far as development of their own community children are concerned. So agencies means there are three categories of agencies. One is formal, like in a structured institution. Informal is our family, media, advertisement, whatever we look, see around us. Everything comes under the informal part. But non-formal has got some flexibility of formal education. So school is going to you. That means in the form of NGOs, some Anganwadi, a lot of activities now when young boys and girls are not able to come to school. They are not related to any formal structure. That doesn't mean that they will be getting education. So a lot of NGOs are encouraged. A lot of Anganwadi workers are given some money from by the government so that they can go to some village community hall or say community centers and ask the students to come over there in order to encourage that midday meal were offered because along with education, health, physical health issue was also very important. And it was observed that in India, the poor children, they are mostly actually undernourished, malnourished. So that was the reason why they started taking a decision of giving them some nutritious food so that they can overcome that problem of their problem, whatever they are facing, and they can't come. So in order to attract them, they are enjoying midday meal of some nutritious, balanced food is given in the government or government schools in the form of midday meal to attract them. Then rest is up to the teachers. How will you teach? Now the fourth block has got again 4 chapters. First one is deals with universalization of education. This is definitely one of the most important topics from this paper. Universalization is one question, another one is equalization or equity. Now, equalization or equality in education means that all the people, all the students in the same class must get equal opportunity to learn something. And for that, we have got this universalization policy of education, secondary education, the equity and equality in education. Then under this Unit 5, some curricular issues are developed so that depending on the quality of product, whatever we are producing of educational institutions, whatever we are talking about products we are using or producing, that means what? Who are the products? Our children passing out students from school, they are the products. So now this quality of that product must be maintained. So these are all about 4 chapters of Block 3. Now in Block 4, it is discussed first that issues and concerns in secondary education means what? Issues and concerns means what? The problems faced by the institution, the challenges faced by the institution. In majority cases, one of the common problems what we face in every institution is our government nominee or our president, once we are saying that all these things, they laugh. But this is actually true, that the scope given to the poor and the downtrodden and the children coming from the first generation families, they really need some special guidance in school because they can't expect any assistance from their parents because they are illiterate. And they are so poor that they are not in a position to pay the private tuition fee. So where will these people go? Where will these students go? So that means NGOs and other voluntary organizations, they have to intervene. And what they do, they take their feedback, they do the necessary academic part, cognitive development part, and they finally take the permission from the government to run this type of Anganwadi and etc. on their own and try to make the basic target is same. Maybe some kids, they have come up to class 4 and then in class 4 it was identified that he can't write even or he can't even speak his mother tongue. So these are the issues which are the quality parameter issues. Now these are the issues which are actually a challenge for our education system. So we have to somehow design it, implement it properly so that they get the benefit out of it. Nourishment part is there for the physical part and counseling and all these things are given, provided to them. Occasionally in our college also we get some notice given by the government regarding a lot of children taking tiffin or something, or maybe they are not attending regular classes, maybe their parents are coming only to collect their midday meals. They should be somehow the teachers should be more responsible. Sometimes, if possible, they may visit their houses to know the exact reason of what they're coming to institution. So in this way, we can address the quality issues. Not only making arrangement of the class, but the class should be made in such a manner it should be meaningful. So quality issues are there. Quantity is nothing but expansion. So these are the things, and the final block 4, that is the final block. These are the heading, like issues and concerns in secondary education. So various issues and concerns we'll have to discuss. And I told you earlier, 2 topics are very important for your exam. One is universalization of secondary education, and another one is equality in education. This you must study. And finally, curricular issues, and the last one is professional development of secondary teachers. But what do you understand about professional development? What do you understand by professional development? Teachers training. Untrained teachers definitely may teach, but untrained teachers, whatever they will be teaching and without any training, that will be more or less so-so. But once you are getting the training, the professional development, the professional training, now you are more and more aware how to handle students, how to make them understand something with the help of illustration skill and others. So you must be learning all these issues for your exam. Now gradually coming to the exam part. So this is the nutshell, or this is actually the overview of the entire course. Under this part, you are supposed to write about all these critical comments on your own. Don't copy from your study material, but write the basic things and then write your own notes. Now, let me stop for a few minutes here and ask you whether you have got any problem up to this point. Is it clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now let me proceed. As I told you that this equality issue will definitely come, universalization issue will definitely come, the design of the present independent India, the structure of the education system will definitely come. One question may come on National Policy of Education 2020. So because you are all very young and your projection is ahead of you, so you should first consider the current National Policy of Education. 1986 was a landmark, no doubt about it. They will be there. All the things couldn't be implemented, and that is the reason all the students are not always attending the class. But what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to give them a quality education. For that, what we need to train our teachers. We need to make them professionals so that whatever they teach with the required TLM, teaching learning material, using it in the class, various different ideas with which something can be critically analyzed. So in this way, they can somehow try to develop their own. Now up to this, you are getting a lot of questions. I hope you have written all the topics. Now, other than curricular issues, whenever we are talking about the quality concerns in secondary education, a lot of co-curricular activities also come. Under professional development of secondary teachers, some training issues of professional teachers, secondary teachers automatically come. So much of training they must get, especially the secondary school teachers, those who are completing B.Ed. Definitely must be knowing that all these teacher training train them in various modern methodologies, so that in the following various methodologies, you can express different topics. Because you know it very well that for a single topic, It cannot be only one method. They are actually all combination of various methods. Sometimes it is up to the teachers to decide that which method he or she is going to follow for which topic. And you are aware, I hope, that all the topics are not or may not be suitable for all the methods. So accordingly, what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to first design the plan. Then comes various issues like professional development of secondary teachers as well. And then comes the next one, Unit 13, that is universalization of secondary education. This is another very, very important issue for your exam. Now, in many ways, it may come. It may come as A1 or 2, or 8. Out of all these points I mentioned, so far as I see, yes, sir, one term is there, globalization. Now, what is globalization? What is this? Can anyone tell me what is globalization?
Sir, as communication system has been developed with technologies today, uh, all nations in the aspect of education, all nations has come together. We have uh, um, different nations and they have different kind of policy of education. We communicate with them. I think this is the education, the whole education system has become a global thing today.
Yes, thank you. Yes, absolutely correct. That majority of the people, those who are responsible to implement these type of policies, are not being engaged by the government to implement these policies. But instead of that, they are given some other responsibilities, and this field is neglected. And once this field remains neglected, and every year a lot of students are passing out, they think that okay, there are so many engineers, we have produced so many lawyers, so many doctors, so many engineers, so many teachers, professors, scientists, we have produced that's all. But unless it is implemented properly, no single policy, however good it may be, can be successful. So this time we will be giving more emphasis on their USA related or RMSA related or whatever they used to learn in the elementary schools, Anganwadi, etc. Lot of criteria there as far as school education is concerned. So all these criteria must be fulfilled when they are coming for their inspection in our college. Okay. Now, is there any other question from whatever we have discussed till time? Sometime ask me.
So, please discuss about new education policy that has come in 2020. But, about the new education policy that you are talking about.
But new education policy do you have in your syllabus?
No, you told that
If it is not there,
it might come in the exam. So,
no, if it is not there, then the new education policy won't come. The 1986 education policy will come.
okay.
But basically, if you want to know about the new education policy has got certain features. One feature is allowing students to enjoy credit. Now, what does it mean? Credit means, suppose you are a teacher, you are teaching in a class, and suppose within 1 week, students will be able to learn this much. So can you break it up? Now, other than teachers, who will be breaking up? Non-teaching staff, they are not sure. They are not responsible for all this academic or cognitive work. So whatever teachers are doing or whatever teachers are teaching, that should be some quality work. At the same time, whatever materials are given as textual content material to students should be of some standard. So this is one issue. Another very issue for the practical purpose, for your your examination purpose, is private partnership. And maybe you have gone through the news coming up in the media that in West Bengal many such institutes may come up in future, which will have this PPP model. So finance will be done by the private authority, so the private authority will be running the institution. So in that way, as it is done in many other cases, maybe in our state also in future, this public-private partnership will be coming in school education. And this is actually right now, this is highlighted. So this is a very hot topic. You are expecting this in your examination. And once you are expecting this, you have to write what sort of public reporting or say feedback or say talking to the stakeholders, taking their opinion about how the schools are going on, what can be done, what is good for them. They don't understand, they're very young. You have to make them understand. So this is another very, very challenging job. They have to take care of this. So this is all about your PES 122. Now, when the exam will take place, have you got the total timetable?
Yes, sir.
Now, when this exam will take place, which are the dates?
It is going to start at 17th of March. That is, I think, PES.
Oh, that means enough date you have.
144. We start with 144. PES 144. That is.
144 is teaching of science.
Right. No, teaching.
For us, because we are science teachers. For us, it is teaching of science.
Right. It is going to start with 144 in by 17th, and next in 25th. From 25th, the rest of the exams are going to held. In serially it will held in 25th. There is 121, 26th 122, and 27th one. I think this is the schedule.
Okay, what is the abbreviation of MHRD? MHRD. MHRD, what is the full form?
Ministry of Human Resource Development.
Very good. What is the full form of SSA?
Sarvashikha Abhiyan.
What is the full form of RTE?
Right to education.
Now, how does this right to education affect school education?
It is related to school education, as you have told that education has universalized and it is for all, and equal opportunities will be given to all the students, all the young citizens of a country. So, right to education is related to school education, as all of the all of the citizens below age 14, we have to educate them in schools. So it is related. We have to give them equal and education and quality education. Obviously.
Okay, what is the full form of MDM? These are given under your progress. Check your progress. What is MDM? Midday meal. Okay. Now, after all this discussion, if you have got any doubt or question, you can ask me. Now, let me find out the next checklist. Qualitative improvement in education. Once we are using the term qualitative improvement, what do you think? Or what do you mean by this? Quality education. As I told you earlier.
I think quality education means to educate, to take the policy, education policy in a way that our aims, the outcomes we want from education that we can get. Like as you told yesterday that education is all not uh, getting degree, but to about exploring the students' inner abilities. So through quality education, we can focus on the inner abilities that
Absolutely.
everybody can explore themselves.
Right. Now, another aspect of quality education means all the teachers must be undergoing professional training. Orientation, refresher, training program must be organized for teachers. So unless teachers go on learning new things, how can they teach? So in order to make them aware about this, gradual this type of workshop and everything should be organized, and teachers must be getting the scope for professional development. So now just check how many suggestion topics I have given you. Check once before we finish. Last few minutes. Universalization, equalization or equity. Then comes, tell me whatever you have written. SSA, RMSA, open
Education
and
policies,
discussion,
different education policies.
different education policies, National Education Policy 1986, professional growth of teachers. Another very important concept is globalization. Now, in India or in West Bengal, you cannot provide such a system of education which has got no connection with the international scenario. So whatever you teach here must have got some relevance. I mean, Indian system, Indian standard of education is so high, all of you know, that the pass out from our country go to other countries and easily get job there, or even they can enter into higher education. So that standard is very high in our country comparing to other features. Now, if you straight away compare the young learners, majority of the young learners in our country, they are malnourished, physically they are not well developed, but cognitive standard is not bad. But comparing to our country, if you go to the European country or American country, their first emphasis is given on physical growth. They go for gym, they go for swimming, they go for sports, games, etc. So their physical development is taken care of first, comparing to cognitive development. Cognitive development comes next to this. So these are basic things. Now the new concept is coming up. This is public-private partnership, PPP model in school education. Even in West Bengal government, present government, they have already proposed that the schools where the number of students are very less, they are not willing to run that, and they are going to hand over the infrastructure to some private bodies so that they can arrange all the management, professional, and the support services to run their institution there and earn some profit, so that government, they are not going to take any more liability of paying the teachers, and probably all the teachers will be transferred to some other school where the children are there. So students are very important, because without students, no school can survive, and teachers cannot expect to get salary in this type of government school where the students are not interested to come. So probably that is one of the reasons why the very current government of West Bengal, they have taken the decision that following this PPP model, lot of schools should be handed over to private bodies. And then finally, some schemes we have to write about some centrally sponsored schemes of education, like Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhijan, Sarva Shiksha Abhijan, vocationalization of secondary education. These are the topics, and these are very important topics for your exam. So please write it down. And one project may come as short note, URAN. The project aims at addressing the lower enrollment of girls in engineering colleges. So this URAN project is being taken by Government of India, and to encourage girl students at secondary level to come up to the engineering courses, because usually girls are afraid of attending mathematics, physics, etc. So some special steps are being taken to empower girl students, to give them better opportunities or more scope, or to tutoring them in the field of pure science, mathematics, so that they can come to engineering or technical or vocational education in future. So these are the important areas. I don't think that question will come outside all these topics, whatever we have discussed today. Thank you and all the best for your exam.
Thank you, sir.
Over.
Hello. I'm disconnecting.